Good morning. Again, good afternoon. My name is Kerrigan Turner. I am the Outreach Associate here at Activate. And today we're here for our panel discussion with some Cohort 2024 Activate Fellows. Really here to talk to them about why they chose entrepreneurship and why now. Just a short agenda. We'll go into a short welcome and then we will get right into the discussion with our panelists today. We will have time for a Q&A, and then finally we will have next steps and a little bit of information for you. I'm also being joined today by Joshua Weems, our recruitment intern, as well as Rick Kompensky, the fellowship director of fellowship recruitment. They are available for any questions that you might have during the discussion. You're more than welcome to drop them into the chat at the bottom of the screen at any time, or you can wait until the Q&A session. Just a couple of other ground rules. This meeting is being recorded for internal and external purposes. This meeting will be posted to our YouTube channel. In that case, if you do not feel comfortable with your camera being on, you're more than welcome to go on ahead and turn that off. Alternatively, once we get into the Q&A session, if you want to jump in the queue and want to ask your question, if you don't want to come off camera, that is also perfectly fine. It's truly up to your comfort level. But with that, we will get started. So, Activate Fellows begin their journey in June at the Activate Retreat, discovering what it means to undertake this fellowship, learning more about themselves as well as their cohort, and connecting with those who are in year 2 of the fellowship. Then the fun really begins as they spend the next 2 years de-risking and developing their technology, while also learning to be a CEO in today's business climate. We are lucky to be joined today by 2 Activate Fellows, one at the beginning of their journey with us, and the other coming right into year 2 of the fellowship. Today, we'll discover what led this panel to choose the CEO path to commercialize their technology, learn more about Activate, and their plans for impact. Let's welcome, so today with me, I have Megan Pitcher out of the Houston community and Ying Zhang out of the Boston community from Cohort 2023. So Megan and Ying, how this works, you can, either one of you, whichever one wants to go off camera, or if you want to kind of take turns, does not matter to me. But the first question to you both is, can you please introduce yourselves and provide a brief background as well as your technology, company, and career path?
So I am a pitcher. I am Theo at Veritone Health. We're based out of Houston, Texas. What we're working on is a platform technology to bring anatomy diagnosis into the home environment using a wearable device that uses completely passive sonar sensing. So this is a device that a person can use at home. They can use it during sleep. We can collect the signal that a doctor can use to make a diagnosis. Our beachhead market that we're approaching is for obstructive sleep apnea diagnosis, providing an advanced diagnosis showing where obstructions are happening in the airway. Is that it? Background or more? Good? All right.
Awesome. I'm next. Hello everyone. My name is Jing, as Jingle Bell. Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and CEO of Anthology, a genome diversification company based in Boston. So my journey to Anthology was that I was a PhD student in Boston University studying microbiology, and prior to that, I was with Professor Chris Voigt at MIT. So all my scientific career has been focusing on developing genetics and computational tools to program microbes. So Anthology is an extension of my scientific career. So at Anthology, we work with non-model organisms and trying to scale by manufacturing using these previously underlooked group of organisms, including influenza fungi. Yeah, so so far we have a team of 6 based in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And super excited to tell you more about my journey and also help answer questions you might have, jumping into entrepreneurship.
Thank you both for that. And touching on again with your background, more specifically in your journey to kind of commercializing your technology, what one piece of support or one group of support or one person What support did you find most effective when you were learning more about commercializing your technology or your idea?
I could take that one. I also did more detailed background like Jean did, so I'll just add more there. Sorry about that, Kerrigan.
Sure. No
So
worries.
my background, I'm a scientist by training. So I guess my area of expertise is neuroscience and genetics. That's what I studied at Barrow College of Medicine. After I finished my PhD, I worked in tech transfer for a number of years, actually, so managing intellectual property. So that's where I kind of caught the entrepreneurship bug. So during that part of my career, I was interacting with lots of scientists that are trying to commercialize technologies. And I kind of saw them, they're really smart people that have really great skill sets, and they would kind of try and approach the business side and then kind of fail at it. And I'd be like, man, what's going on with this? So when I started my own entrepreneurial journey, going to accelerator programs were really helpful. So actually talking to people that had successfully done businesses is a different viewpoint than hearing from your PI or someone who works in your academic institution, because there are all these little things that are really important to being successful. So I don't have a person in particular. I'm just getting started on my Activate journey. But I think the accelerator programs have been really beneficial. Learning basic stuff for running a business like finance, how to keep the books properly, how to think about a marketing mindset so you can make that emotional sale to a customer versus the very technical way that we're trained to speak to people.
And I guess to contrast, also and to add to that, Jean, um, with Megan being in her first year and you're going into your second year, I guess, what support did you see and like how has that shifted and changed as you have entered into the Activate Fellowship and been in the fellowship for a year? So I'm adding on to the question from before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so before I applied to Activate, when I started having the thought of building a company, I actually worked for a VC firm. Prior to that, so I was a technology venture fellow with the Engine, which is a VC spun out of MIT. So there, I was looking into the landscape of synthetic biology, trying to understand where the technology is on the market and what will be the enabling technology to unlock the next way of bioproduction. So from there, I kind of got interested in non-model organism engineering, although it wasn't directly relevant to my PhD research. So from there, I kind of started doing market analysis, looking at different technology we can piece together to build this whole process, and then build my team. I have a co-founder from George Church's lab at Harvard. So together we've been kind of continuing his postdoc research in a church lab and started building this company. And then the most helpful, so that kind of helped me get into the Activate Fellowship program, not just my scientific training, but also I think I was being pretty active, looking for different industry, looking to interview different industry people to understand to understand the market opportunity aspect. And when I started Activate, I think Activate has been providing me a lot of tremendous help in scaling the process. So I built a company and I got lots of tractions from after Activate announced the fellowship. So I had many inbound VC requests wanting to talk to the team. Yeah, so and Activate is also doing a pretty good job introducing me to other suitable VCs in the space. So on the VC side, I think Activate is pretty active. And also what I enjoy the most is the community aspect. So pretty much as I head into building this company, started from questions as small as how do I incorporate, how do I do 33B election, and where I can find IP lawyer, these questions, because we have such amazing community, pretty much my questions get answered in a day or two if I reach out to the people who had relevant experience. And then as I started growing the team, I had many issues of, how do I manage a growing team, especially we have like team members from straight coming from academia and also members coming from the industry. So how do I bridge their expertise and how do I like create alignment on the team? Especially we're doing like very diverse projects ranging from hardware building and also like doing biology stuff. Yeah, just creating this consensus on the team has been my priority for the past couple of months, and Activate has been providing tremendous community support to walk me through this journey.
Thank you for that. And I love how really in any kind of discussion, once we get into the support about Activate community always comes up. And I just continue to love that. I just love that because it continues to just show how much all of us, including the team, but also the fellows, put into the community aspect of the fellowship. So continuing on with kind of your background and this how entrepreneurship came about to you. For both of you, this question is for both of you all. Was there really a pivotal moment or influence that led you to either entrepreneurship or your field of study or your industry?
My answer might be not very popular, so I'll let Megan go first.
Oh no. I'm not sure that my answer is very popular either. So as I said, I worked in intellectual property in an academic institution for about 5 years. I was always interested, I was around entrepreneurs, I talked to them, kind of understood what their minds were. But for me, at that part of my career, I'm like, this is not for me. I would never go quit my job that pays me well to go take this risk and have these periods where I don't have salary, to deal with all this stuff and go beg rich people for money to pitch. I would never. Then the pandemic hit and my profile for risk really changed. So this very early weeks of the pandemic, I had, married, had a 4-year-old daughter, and so everything shut down. And the messaging was you could go outside and go to the store and you could catch COVID and you'll die. And we don't know how you got it and we don't know what's going to do. So, I mean, just kind of having the time to reflect and be at home with family and kind of think about what should I do with my career? I can continue this career path with tech transfer, or I can take the skill set that I developed as a scientist, working in these different parts of the industry to take a chance at entrepreneurship and just see what it is. If the company doesn't do well, then I can go back to my other job and, have stability there. But why not take a chance? You only have the one life to do it. So kind of just having that event kind of reframed the way I thought about what kind of risk I should be taking in my career. So as I said, I had these skill sets that would help, scientist by training, worked in IP. Before that, I worked in biotech for about 5 years. I've kind of had all these different pieces of my career that kind of added up to, I think I could potentially start working on a startup company. I had the opportunity to do a biodesign program that's run here in Houston, Texas at Texas Medical Center. They help you find teams, they help you with a first year support to actually go out and try to build a company. So having that kind of risk reduced way to kick the company off was also very helpful because, again, it's hard to go from having a nice comfortable salary to having no salary. So it's nice to have a landing pad like the TMC biodesign program or like activated serving. I know for a lot of people that are coming straight out of their postdocs, out of grad school, into doing this very risky thing. So I think that makes it easier to stomach such a bold change. But for me, that was my trigger for entrepreneurship. I have other things for why we're studying what we're studying, but I'm very interested to hear what Jean has to say. So.
Me too. I'm glad to hear that. I think for a lot of people, COVID had, there are pivots involved, with being stuck in a house during a pandemic. So I'm glad that not only, did you decide to start a business from that, but that led you to Activate. And Jean.
Yeah. So I actually never considered doing anything else besides starting a company. So I was born into a very entrepreneurial driven family. So growing up, I've seen my dad doing all these different businesses, investments. So my risk appetite has been very high to begin with. And also I actually grew up spent a large portion of my childhood in the rural side of China. So growing up with lots of farm animals, with agriculture, that got me very connected with the soil, the land, and also the broader ecosystem. So I started my undergrad career thinking of making an impact in agriculture, in the food system. That's yeah, and then like doing a PhD was just one way of exploring different career journey that could possibly lead to this impact I want to create in the society. While I was also doing my PhD, I started an NGO on animal welfare and nature conservation in China, promoting concepts such as One Health, like global health in communities that are not exposed to such concepts. And then later, once I was close to finishing my PhD, I wanted to create like doing and having been able to do this NGO for many years, kind of I was seeing the gap in public communication, so I was hoping to drive impact in a different way. So like that's how I was observing the whole movement of impossible foods and also these symbiotic products going onto the market. So I thought, doing a business, solving this problem from a different angle could be very impactful as a next step. So that's why I started looking into, how VC works, how to build a company that has been, yeah, this that has been my previous 10 years of that landed me into building anthology.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Two very different stories. Two very different stories, for sure. And this question will be somewhat different for the both of you all as well, because Megan, you're just starting out with the Activate Fellowship, and Jean, you're in year 2 now. How has your perspective on leadership changed now that you're a decision maker and a key player of your company?
So for me, I just started the fellowship. We had our retreat in June, and I've done accelerators before, and a lot of them are, how do you make decisions and how do you set up a Gantt chart for your product development and that kind of thing. From the Activate kickoff meeting, it was really about who are you what is your personality? What is your type as a leader? What values are really important to you? So I hadn't really viewed leadership through that lens, kind of being true to oneself to develop your leadership skill. Because to date, running the company is like, what do I need to achieve today to keep this company alive? So it's hard to take time to kind of sit down and reflect. But I think that work is very necessary. As far as what I'm learning to being a leader, I'm trying to transition more to that, more taking time for self-reflection and thinking about the values that I bring and that my co-founders bring and what's important to the company, trying to transition out of panic survival mode. We got to reduce the burn. We got to get them, that kind of thing. I think that takes time. I think Activate provides a good framework for understanding that.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Yeah, reflecting the past year, just there have been so many lessons that I learned from leading the company. Yeah, starting from growing the team from 2 people to almost 10 people now. We have like 6 full-time and also 5 interns currently in the company. And also I fired one person earlier this year, who was actually I brought her from California to Massachusetts and also became friends with her. But I have to make a very hard decision for the company because her expertise level was just not matching to how quickly we want to move as a company. Yeah, it's been a lot of learning lessons for me because I was, when I started the company, I was trying to be friends with everyone. I was trying to be friendly, asking everyone how is their day, and then try to make them feel comfortable in the company. But right now, I think my leadership style changed over time. That I can, when we're trying to make a decision on which market to go first or how to prioritize on a certain projects over the others, I listen to other people's feedback, but ultimately I have to make a decision. And then once the decision is made, everyone is going in that direction. So just learning to build that confidence to, no matter what decision you make, at the end of the day, you have to, take responsibility and also like convince your team that this is a good decision. I think there's so much that I learned over the past year.
I love both of those perspectives because I think
And
that
I also
go
I have
ahead.
a follow-up for Jing, because this is really interesting. Because
Uh-huh.
talking to the cohorts that are more advanced than us, because we're still just a team of 3 co-founders, so everything is very much, all right, team, what are we gonna do? Let's decide and discuss and do the thing. So we're not at the point where we've grown the team and made hires and had to take more of a assertive, this is the decision, and then it flows down. So kind of where in your team growth did that happen for you, Jing? Is it, or do you have co-founders, and how did you transition from very community making to I need to make this, I need to follow it? Because that's something probably in our future when we start to grow. And again, like I can't even imagine what the company looks like when there's more than the 3 of us, but I know it's coming. So we'll have any feedback for that.
Great question.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When they were just my co-founder and me, like we want to be super ambitious. We want to, engineer 10 different wild organisms by the end of the pre-seed, and also just achieving this very ambitious goal. But as we brought on more people, especially after we brought on someone who was a senior scientist at 3 different companies that are much larger, yeah, like his perspective is like, what is the goal for today? What do we have to achieve in 6 months to show a meaningful progress for investors and for the next seed round? So we have to adjust the ambitious goal to kind of like a short-term, mid-term goal for the whole team. And you want the team to be ambitious, but not too ambitious that they will feel, this is something that's not achievable by end of this year. So you have to learn how to set the sort of realistic, but still, you have to reach for it, that type of goals. It's just a lot of communication, a lot of team alignment. We used to have alignment once per month. Now it's like every week, given that we have new customer attractions, new projects that we're trying to balance on the team. So like it's been a constant process on the team. So what's been working for us for the past 6 months is no longer working once we take on, more interns, more scientists. Yes, you have to adjust your management style over time.
Thank you.
Crazy. And so I'm going to take it back a little bit, especially for Eugene, because I know that Megan just applied, last year sometime. And so it's kind of fresh on the mind, but for you, I know that this was a year ago. But I want to learn more about your application process into the Activate Fellowship. Were there any challenges that you can remember facing while applying, and how did you overcome that? Alternatively, if you can't remember any challenges, what surprised you most about either learning about Activate or the application process in itself?
Yeah, for me,
Oh, go ahead, Jing.
oh no, go ahead. It's the memory is more fresh with you.
Oh yeah. Sure. So I'm in the Houston cohort. We're the first Houston cohort ever. Yeah, woo. So for us, I learned about it through a mailing list. A scientist mailing list that my co-founder was actually on. He sent me the things, hey, we should apply to this. I looked at the website, I'm like, I don't know, this thing says climate tech, but we'll give it a shot. So we went ahead and applied. I really appreciated how thorough the process was. I sent these materials and I've applied for lots of things. I never felt like people actually read the materials in depth. But the people at Activate are really looking at that stuff. You send in references once you get to a certain point in the process. And they called all those references and asked them about me, because they came back to me and said, hey, I had a call with someone at Activate. So that was really, I thought it was good, because it's good to hear people that believe in you kind of tell your story too. Maybe they tell a bit of your story that you didn't tell yourself when you're applying for it. An adjustment we had to make, because we've been operating Baritone for almost 3 years now. And when I pitch the product, it very much is, this is the product for sleep apnea that we're building. This is how we're going to get through FDA, and this is the circle of money we can get. For Activate, it's more, what is the platform technology? Which there always was a platform technology underlying our approach, but investors didn't like when I would pitch, this is the platform, it's going to do this, and we could use it for this, that, and the other thing. they think you're unfocused. So to kind of step the pitch I built around building that you should invest in to this is the bigger dream, this is the platform technology, this is the way we're going to change the world for Activate was also refreshing. Because most scientists kind of have this underlying thing of we're working on a big idea that's going to change the world. And then when you're kind of pitching to get investment, it has to be smaller to fit whatever the criteria is. So I did enjoy that. I don't really have any challenges with the application. I guess, I mean, we're the only Houston cohort, so kind of finding people that had done it before was a little bit difficult. But I'm so glad I'm in the program and so glad to be in the inaugural cohort here in Houston.
I guess for me, the most challenging part is that I wasn't confident to apply at the beginning, but my co-founder eventually convinced me of just trying, since we were building the technology from scratch. And then, yeah, I was finishing my PhD, so I thought I wouldn't have enough bandwidth to do the application. But so far, I'm just very glad that he convinced me of starting the process.
Sure. Thank you for that. And one thing that I'll note on or just touch on with Megan's experience kind of coming in, Megan has more of a medical technology. And that's something that's also kind of new for us, especially with the Houston cohort as well. So it's very interesting to see kind of how with you having still more of a medical technology, how it's still kind of how we're starting to, I would say, kind of bridge that balance here at Activate with, more climate technologies, other industries, but trying to bridge the gap as more medical technologies that are truly non-traditional and kind of in this intersection of science, medicine, and tech. It's very interesting, and I'm also glad that you are here, Megan, to help us with the inaugural cohort. And I'm also glad that your co-founder, Jing, was able to really just encourage you and get you to apply. So now I'm still going to talk about the fellowship for our last couple of minutes before we open it up for Q&A. Jing, this question mainly goes to you, but I'll get some different perspectives. I know I will because you're in two separate years. And I love how this is kind of played out with you all being in two separate years and providing kind of two different perspectives to the same question. So what are your main goals for the 2-year fellowship period? Are there any specific milestones or outcomes that you aim to achieve? And then for you, Jing, how has that maybe changed when you entered the fellowship and kind of had your T0 meeting? You really kind of set some of those goals for yourself over the next 2 years. Have those shifted at all? And how, if they have shifted, how?
I thought we would IPO in 2 years. No, that's a joke. Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like overall it hasn't shifted. It reflecting what I answered those questions in T0 meeting. I think I was able to contextualize what these questions actually mean. When we got into the program, I remember in the retreat they asked a series of questions. For example, whether you want to build this super innovative technology or you want to create values for your customers. They gave us a bunch of questions like these, and then being able to reflect on my past year and how my answers to these questions shifted over time. I think it's just a super valuable lesson. And I really appreciate that Activate gave us this resources to guide us thinking, what entrepreneurship really means for us. And then I know that each person's experience might be different, but having these systems to guide us thinking through these questions has been like super meaningful to me. Yeah, I still want an IPO in a year.
Fingers crossed for you, for sure. Megan, if you had anything to add.
Sure. So for Baritone Health, because we're a medical device company, before we can sell a medical device, we have to get through FDA regulatory phase. When I think about phases of the company, Right now, I'd say we're in a pre-seed phase. We're getting very early clinical validation, and we're moving towards getting into that FDA clinical phase. So at the end of this year as an Activate, I would love for us to be an FDA phase company. So working on FDA trials, getting over that hurdle to sell the product. Kind of smaller milestones that would be awesome. I'd love to expand our team. Asking the older cohorts about that, because again, never have done hiring before. I just know how to work with my co-founders. I don't know how to bring in more people. Would love to start some kind of paid pilot project. So before we do an FDA regulated project, potentially we sell an investigational device to collect data, researchers to be interested in that, and that's a way that we can prove a little bit of market traction. So that's kind of like a 1 year milestone that I'd love to achieve. So that, those are my thoughts. Just advancing development of the company beyond where we are right now would be great, and I think it's very achievable.
Sure. And we've definitely touched on how the mentorship and different community aspects of not only the ecosystem, but also the community, the cohorts and the alumni and current community of Activate Fellows definitely kind of help support you in achieving those goals. My last question before we open it up to the Q&A to the audience, and I love that we already have one question in the chat waiting on you, Megan. But my last question to you all, what advice would you give to someone who's considering starting their own business or pursuing the entrepreneurial pathway?
Just start it. Don't overthink.
My advice is to be kind to yourself. It is extremely hard. It's you looked at LinkedIn and people are like, oh, I just opened up my eyes this morning. I raised $10 million to do the whatever. It's really hard, especially for there are lots of people you can learn from. So try to reach out, grow your network, and be kind to yourself. You can do it. If this one doesn't work, do the next one. It's okay. Just give it a try.
Thank you both for that. Very short, sweet, simple, and to the point, but very effective advice. And I also think it's pieces of advice, that entrepreneurs don't always keep at top of mind or keep in mind. So with that, we will open it up for the Q&A. I have a couple more ground rules for you all. You're already doing a great job of dropping questions into the chat, so we will definitely get into that in just a moment. But for those who would like to ask questions live, how you would do so is you would use the reaction tab at the bottom of your screen. It's going to be a little heart right near the bottom middle part of your screen. You'll just click on that and click the raise hand function. That will then pop you up to the top of the screen where you'll jump in the queue, and then we'll call on you one by one, and you're more than welcome to ask 1 to 2 questions, depending on the number that we have in the queue. If you could keep it limited to those 1 to 2 questions, then you're more than welcome to jump back into the queue if we have time. So with that being said, more than welcome to again hop in that queue for a live question. But first, I have Rourke in the chat who asked a question, and this was to Megan. What was your strategy to connect with Activate Fellows? And was your objective to inquire about how to increase your probability of submitting a successful application? Furthermore, this is for both fellows. What advice can you share to future applicants in order to increase the probability of success? So really touching on the application.
Sure. Whenever I apply for something, I want to know, first of all, is it worth spending the time doing the application, kind of getting some feedback on, is it a good program? And yes, to understand what are some strategies to make sure you have a good application. Usually my approach is to see publicly who's involved in the program, see if I have any connections through LinkedIn or something. I don't really have that with Activate because this is first Houston cohort, and many of the companies are not in medical technology. So those are networks that I'm just now opening up. But here in Houston, we have a really great program manager and fellowship manager. They were very open to answering questions. They actually had an informational session at Texas Medical Center. I just, myself and a co-founder just set up a separate call with Jeremy just to ask a couple questions about, how should we gear the application? Should we team or just one of us, and that kind of thing. So that was good to really get some direct granular advice on how to apply and make the best application. As far as increasing probability of success, I think you really do have to you have to have a big vision for what your tech is doing, because I think Activate at its core is about scientists. So kind of that the scientific dream of I have a really big idea, this is how it's going to change the world. So definitely have that big story to share with Activate, and I think that'll be very good for you.
Anything to add there?
I think Megan covered it pretty well.
Perfect. So with that, we'll actually jump into the queue really quick. Andy, you have a question.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. I think my question got posted in the chat a little bit by somebody else, but I was curious what spectrum of like business stages in the cohort has been, what is probably the best stage to join at? Like where would you be where Activate could help you the most and where you'd be most appropriate for the program? And then I also had another question. I think it's all very like science related, and a lot of you have advanced degrees. I'm an engineer. I don't think that disqualifies me, but I'm curious if there's more engineering, and I'm working on a science project of sorts, but I'm curious if there's a little bit more diversity that way across the program. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks. I can actually pick this one up. So to start on your last question, while we have scientists throughout our website, one thing that we like to do with recruitment here is be inclusive. So I like to say scientists and engineers. Once you start looking into the Activate Fellows themselves and kind of looking into their background, there are a ton of different engineers who have touched different industries. I know that we have some chemical engineers, some mechanical engineers, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where we kind of started and had this idea to add scientists and engineers just into our recruitment language to be more inclusive to you engineers. Touching on the first point, could you remind me like in a one sentence of what that was? Because I can't remember the last.
Sorry. Just like what stage should I be to be most appropriate for Activate, and what is the spectrum of people coming into the program look like?
Yes, so we're really intentional within the cohort for that year to pick different technologies that are at different TRL stages. What I will say to apply, at bare minimum, you do need to have basically an idea with some type of initial lab results or some type of results that you can communicate to say there is potential that this could work. On the other side, we do accept kind of any stage in between that, but you have not gotten to full-scale prototype or full-scale sales. Generally, what we see for fellows is somewhere in between there, but they still have some type of de-risking for their technology, some type of lab testing, something that has to be done with the technology to kind of get it to the point where it needs to be either a prototype, a full working prototype, or that kind of final product to go out to market. That really depends on where the fellow is. But again, it could kind of be either one of those two with anything in between. But initially starting out some lab results to like a working prototype.
Yeah, so working prototype wouldn't be too far. Say like I have a pilot project or deployed some prototypes, I'm worried that I'd be too far.
If you've already deployed prototypes, I think where you would be communicating kind of the need, it would be the need for the fellowship because you have not only kind of the personal, but also, you know, the programming aspect of it, but you are expected to be in the lab or forwarding your technology for at least, I believe it's like 30 or so hours a week of commitment to your company. So again, that would be you being in the lab or workspace, whatever that looks like. Alternatively, if you're kind of at that point where you're almost to a product that is ready to go out to the market, but you need to focus more on the business, it could also look like that as well. But I would say at least there needs to be some form of de-risking to kind of get to that product that is ready for market.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alrighty, so I have another question in the chat from Abdul Salam. They say that they are an undergraduate student in physics, aspiring to become an entrepreneur and start a company. What advice would you offer? Additionally, looking back at your experiences and career journey, what would you have done differently?
I don't know about that second question. That's always a hard one. I don't know what I would do differently. I had to do all these things to figure out where I am now, which I've had a few career turns. I think Jing's advice is good. Just try it. So I mean, when I came out of undergrad, I went and I worked at a biotech company for about 5 years. And then I went and got my PhD after that. So I didn't go straight from undergrad to grad school. And then after I get my PhD, I worked in intellectual property for 5 years. And then I started the startup. So my career I've already had a few different phases in my career. But I needed all of those things to do what I'm doing now. So I'm not sure what I would change. I don't know. Maybe getting an MBA would have led to financial security much faster than taking the science path, but that's not really what the question is. I'm so like being born into a rich family would have been nice, but I don't know how to change that. As far as advice for doing a startup, there are so many different ways to do your business, especially for hard tech and science. So many little unique things that are going to be unique to the tech that you're doing, or the regulatory, or kind of social political environment that you live in for your type of technology. Like for sleep health, there are these organizations that represent certain arms of sleep health that we need to be aware of when we go forward with our process. So just understanding all these little bits is really hard. So my advice is give as much advice as you can. Join accelerators, talk to other entrepreneurs, talk to people that have done startups before and exited, talk to people that have done startups and failed at it. Just if someone offers you a meeting or you want to talk to someone to learn more, take the meeting and learn more. I've never regretted taking a meeting with someone just to have like an exploratory informational like introductory call. So my advice is get as much advice as you can, be open to it. Another thing that I experienced myself and I see with other scientists is become an expert in the thing that you're working on, and you close yourself off to other bits of advice around other things. I don't think we should be that way. I think we should be open to advice from other people, other fields, other experiences to help us run our businesses.
I love that it touches a lot of different buckets, but definitely some things that you can do as an undergraduate student to really kind of set yourself up to see where you want to go in the future. Alrighty. I have another question from Dan. Well, I have a question from Dan. Dan says, I love to learn about timing. Where was your technology? Oh, sorry. Hey, let's go scroll. Oh no, where'd you go, Dan? Here it is. Sorry, a message came up and then it scrolled and went away. Let's start that question over. Where was your technology at TRL and or stage, and business at when you applied? Where do you see it being at the end of the fellowship, TRL or investment stage, etc.? And how was your timeline to a commercial product changed as you have progressed?
I think I can take this question. So for us, it's a unique story because we found the market opportunity first and then started building the technology. So when I was applying to the fellowship, I guess our TRL was very low. So probably just lab prototyping stage or even trying to demonstrate that this concept is working. But we applied anyways, given that there has been other proof points in literature showing that this process would improve the current way of manufacturing bio-based products. So, and then thinking back, I know I gave the advice of starting early or starting as soon as you have this idea, but in retrospect, I think I would have just taken a step back, like trying to developing this technology further before I try to commercialize it. Because once you are taking on investor money, so far as we raised around 3 million pre-seed last year. So once you have investor money, you're on a time clock. So you have to deliver certain milestones by certain time points. So it actually adds a lot of pressure to us because we are working on a risky technology and we haven't entirely de-risked it in academia. So yeah, my pressure is out of the roof right now. Yeah, it doesn't really change our timeline to getting to a commercial proof point. It's just adding a lot of extra pressure.
Megan, do you have anything to add there?
So when we applied, we had a version of the prototype that worked in not the model that we wanted to use, but kind of an earlier model just to demonstrate proof of concept. So we had a proof of concept. We're just getting into early clinical phase. We're a pre-seed company. We're a pre-seed company. So at the end of the fellowship, I like us to be a seed stage company to be able to raise enough money to get through these FDA milestones that we need to get through. And I mean, the prototype works, it does what it's supposed to do, but just kind of making it look better, like engaging a professional manufacturer so we can build them the same way each time instead of kind of building them by hand in our lab. That's where you want to be, just maturing the company and, evolving it, getting it to a higher valuation. I mean, I think that's everyone's goal over time for their companies to increase the valuation over time.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And Dan also said thank you in the messages for your responses. Are there any more questions that we have from the audience? We have maybe about 5 more minutes, so I could get maybe 1 or 2 questions in. And if not, I can close us out.
Can I answer the question about accelerator and incubator programs, like why activate and not other ones? So I don't know if I put an answer in there that we do encourage people to participate in those as well in order to get ready to apply to the academic fellowship. But I don't know if Jing or Megan, you all participated in any that you think people should look at, or any other thoughts about that.
Yeah, there are a lot of accelerator programs, or at least educational programs that you can participate to understand how to find product market fit, and then like the process of building a company, how VC works. One recommendation I have is try to participate at least one before you apply to activate, so that you can at least having some thought around how you approach the market, how you take your technology, how you de-risk your technology through venture funding, how to go to market. So yeah, one pretty good program is called it's called Blueprint. So it started from the Engine Accelerator. It's free for everyone. I think they are currently looking for the next batch of people. So I would encourage you guys to apply to at least one.
So we've done a few accelerator programs. A few of them are specific to medical device. Like there's some very specific things to that, like having a design history file for the product you're developing, and regulatory reimbursement stuff. So we did 0 to 510, which is based out of Memphis but has a virtual component. And we also did LifeX, which is based out of Pittsburgh but also largely virtual. So those are good if you're in medical device med technology. Kind of more general accelerator programs. We did Creative Destruction Lab, which has a number of sites across North America and Europe. They're really good because the mentors they bring on are former operators, so people that have worked in startups. They'll set a couple goals for you to complete over a course of 8 weeks, and then you finish your goals and then you go into it again. So we had a really good time with that one. Another good one is iCore. I think I saw that come up in the chat. But the initial stages, you should be doing your customer discovery and understanding if whatever the thing is that you're working on actually has a market. Because just because it looks cool to you doesn't mean it's going to be cool to everyone else. Just because it solves your problem doesn't mean that the problem is actually a big problem that's worth solving. So iCore is great because it pays you money to do the customer discovery. You get a lot of good information about what you're going into. What I love about Activate is Jing hit the point earlier, the community is great. So accelerator programs I've done before, you do your 3 or 4 months and then the thing is over. And then like there's some remnants of activity on the Slack channel, then it kind of it disappears. When I came into Activate, there's already this very active Slack community, and people are asking questions all the time and getting feedback from people that are actually doing it. Our directors in Houston, you know, the people that are running the program have done startups, so they know what they're talking about when they're telling you stuff. They have good networks to help you expand your networks and build what you're working on. So that's what I really like about this program.
One additional thing that I'll kind of touch on is while these programs are good, follow-on programs or beginner programs to follow on with the Activate Fellowship, they are absolutely not necessary to apply. They're good to have and good to help you, but again, not necessary to apply. One question that I did have there we go. So Megan just answered it. The question was, if you do multiple accelerator programs, then don't you lose out on equity? There are lots of free ones, but there are some that take equity. Luckily, Activate is one of those that does not take fees or equity to participate in the program. So whatever your whatever your equity setup is, you get to keep that throughout the 2 years of the Activate Fellowship, at least. I can touch on with that. And then lastly, I'm so glad that Jing brought up not only the Blueprint program, because I will go on ahead and share my screen again. We'll touch on the application timeline, but we do have an Activate Blueprint event coming up. Additionally, with NSF I-Core, that is a great beginner program that we typically see where fellows come from. And exactly as Megan touched on, it's getting that customer discovery out the way, but a really great program for you to be able to explore the market that you're looking to enter. Let's give a virtual round of applause to Jing and Megan for their perspective, their thoughts, their opinions, and answering the questions today. Really, really great job there. I will go on ahead and close us out with some general information, some housekeeping information, what to do next. Cohort 2025 applications are opening in the next couple of months. These they're going to open on September the 4th and close on October the 23rd. So definitely preparing for when applications open in the next couple of months. Just to go over eligibility requirements real quick. For acceptance into the fellowship, you must have a bachelor's degree in 4+ years of post-baccalaureate scientific research, tech development experience. You must be leading the commercial development of a hardware-based technology innovation for the first time if awarded the fellowship, i.e. not a repeat hard tech founder. You must be committed full-time to the proposed project or company if awarded the fellowship. You must be legally able to work in the United States for the duration of the fellowship, and you must be able to communicate proficiently in English. Additionally, your proposed project or company must be in the physical, biological sciences, or related engineering disciplines, long story short, falling under one or more of the verticals that we have available on our website. You must be still in the developmental phase and not yet ready for full-scale product sales at the time of the application deadline. And then lastly, you must not have raised more than $2 million in debt or equity funding from non-governmental sources at the time of the application deadline. So as we touched on earlier, maybe equity with the accelerators, other angel investments that have equity attached to it. Cannot have more than $2 million in those, but for any governmental source funding, such as SBIRs, STTRs, as well as grants, you're more than welcome. That amount is unlimited. For next step, so we ask you always to just continue to stay engaged with us. So whether that's signing up to receive communications, if you haven't already, you can do so to learn more about our upcoming application cycle at activate.org/apply. For questions at any time, you're more than welcome to email us at apply@activate.org. We'll be having more events throughout the summer, more chances to speak to fellows as well. You can see all of those at activate.org/events, and you can always watch our past webinars on our YouTube channel. For upcoming webinars virtually, we have our Ask Me Anything, again, another panel discussion with fellows, Change Live, Change Locations, where we'll be talking more about the decisions on whether to relocate or stay in the virtual community for Activate Anywhere. And then we'll also be having a reapplying for the Activate Fellowship webinar, which is really going to touch on those of you who have applied in the past and are thinking about ways in which you could build a compelling application the second go around. And if you are in the Boston area, on August the 6th, we will be having the Activate Blueprint Happy Hour. So for those of you who are local to the area, please let us know if you would like more information on that happy hour event, and we'll be glad to send the link over to that. I'm going to close this out now, but Joshua is going to be sending over a poll for you all to complete. We would love if you could complete this poll. It really just gives us more information on how you found us and how you enjoyed the webinar today. If you could please finish that poll before you exit out of the meeting today, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. I'm going to give another shout out to Megan and Jing again for your participation, your perspectives today. Really great to learn more about you and your technologies. And thank you to the audience for attending today and participating and asking some great questions as well. Once you finish that poll, you're more than welcome to leave. And to that, I say have a great day, and we'll see you next time.